for today with Prof. Fauziah, Abdul Rahim, as well as Dr. Wan Zohaini Saad. This is actually the second part. So apa ni? On behalf of the hosting committee or the organizing committee, I would like to welcome first and foremost Prof. Fauziah Abdul Rahim from University Utara Malaysia, and also welcome to in our audience the Director of Center for Professional Development, Dr. Mira Kartiwi, and also the Deputy Director of CPD, Dr. Izawati Tukiman, professors, associate professors, my friends and colleagues from within the International Islamic University of Malaysia, as well as from other universities throughout the country. Welcome. My name, I am Firdaus Abdul Wahab from the Kuliah of Engineering, International Islamic University, and I'm honored today to be hosting our distinguished speakers in this sharing session with recipients of the Anugerah Akademik Negara. We have with us today two speakers. The first one is Professor Dr. Fauziah Abdul Rahim, who is the recipient of the Anugerah Pengajaran or Teaching Award from the Kelompok Sains Gunaan and Sains Social Gunaan, or Applied Science and Applied Social Science field in 2000 from the 2018 award. I will be introducing her in a bit, but for your information, the Anugerah Akademik Negara has been running around for 14 years now, I think. And the Anugerah Akademik Negara is actually an accolade that honors academics throughout Malaysia in recognition of their contribution towards expanding the realm of knowledge in various fields in our country. So today, the recipients are coming from the recipient or the speakers who were the recipients in the Anugerah Akademik Negara 12. Their background are actually in two different fields. One is Prof. Fauziah is actually in the social sciences, but her contribution has been very focused on the improving the education, the realm of education in our country. And Prof. Fauziah Abdul Rahim, being an education psychologist, she actually focused her research on mediating and engaging learners' learning processes, and also in how we expand our capacity to develop thinking, our habit of mind, and also ways of working. Whereas Associate Professor Dr. Wan Zohaini, she will be joining us in a bit later. And I think I will be introducing her a bit later after when her turn comes in. But for the first session, I would like to remind everyone that this session will be running for the speakers will be talking will be giving their talk for an hour, starting with Professor Dr. Fauziah Abdul Rahim. And then we will open the session for 15 minutes for Q&A. You may write your questions in the chat box, either in the Zoom platform or in the YouTube platform as well. And then after the Q&A session with Professor Dr. Fauziah, we will then move to our second speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Wan Zohaini Saad, for another hour, and then we will open the Q&A session for that session afterwards before we end and conclude our session today. Yeah. All right. I think I would like to pass the without further ado, I would like to pass the session to Professor Dr. Fauziah, if you're ready.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody from IIUM. Thank you, Dr. Firdaus, for the lovely introduction. I'm honored. And thank you to Dr. Mira and the organizers of IIUM for inviting me to have this sharing session with everybody. about both of us, we had our, as I mentioned to Dr. Firdaus, we had our award ceremony on the same year. And it was a beautiful year, but it has gone for many, many years that I've actually forgotten. But every year, alhamdulillah, I've been reminded to continue to share and hopefully motivate and inspire people to also do this. Yes, Anugerah Akademik Negara, especially for Pengajaran, is a very good award in the sense that very, very unlikely that teaching and learning is focused in institution of higher learning, pretty much because research and publication has always been taking the limelight and the spotlight, and people think that teaching is just, everybody teach. So, well, in actual fact, without teaching, there will not be the development of future leaders. And when I say future leaders, it will be our students, our young minds. So ladies and gentlemen, I am Fauziah Abdul Rahim from the School of Education. I've been in University Utara Malaysia for more than 25 years, I think. I started in 1996. And before that, I was a teacher. So today, this morning, what I will be doing is just to show you a little bit or share with you the very beautiful moment that I had, a part of my life that I never expected, but it was lovely nevertheless. So it happened on the 27th November 2018, but it happened definitely not through my own work. I think I know it's basically Allah's rahmat for giving me the opportunity to have this recognition. And during the award ceremony, we had to also show. So I'm giving you a snippet of what happened on the day. So we will have to show our this thing is not okay. We have to show our past experiences and what we have done in a screen. So, and we had to also pick a few pictures that a little bit tell us a little bit about what we do. So I've chosen these pictures on the left. One, the far top left, is a picture of me doing training at ACAP for one of the modules, which I was one of the master trainers, which is learning engagement and motivation. And beside it is the ITEX goal that research team and I won, and that was. Sorry?
Your slide is not moving, I think.
Not moving?
Yeah, we're still on the cover page, the front page.
Kenapa ya?
Sorry. Yeah.
Why is that? Okay. Shall start again. Thank you for letting me know. If not, I'll short sendiri. Okay, now are you seeing this?
I'm seeing the is this the full screen shot? I'm not seeing
it's
the
a full screen.
Oh, this one is not the full screen.
What is the matter? Okay, I shall not show the full screen then. If I show it like that, would that be okay?
Yeah.
Will you be able to see the slide now?
Yes.
Okay. We'll do it this way then.
Sorry for that. Yeah.
Allahu Akbar, what did I do? Yeah, something is not right here, right?
So now we're on the 5th slide, right?
Correct. Yeah. Well, never mind. We will skip this 5th slide and maybe. Okay. Are you able to see the pictures?
Yes.
Okay.
But are you playing any videos right now?
No, I'm not going to play.
Oh, okay, bro.
This is the coming back to the gold award that I had. It was because of a knowledge transfer program project that we did, and it was also we also entered the competition and we won gold. That in 2018, when I had a rest actually from my administrative post, I developed MOOC, my first MOOC, and then my second after that. And that first MOOC that I did had won second place from Open Learning. The other picture, this particular picture, is me organizing the first inspirational academic program, a program that I started in UUM since 2015 to develop new inspiring academics to be engaged in teaching and learning excellence. And the picture right at the bottom, I know it's too small, but that picture is me working with the community in the community, the KTP project. So basically, the whole entire work of mine was to show how I supported not only community engagement, evidence-based research, but I also showed innovation in the instruction, and I also showed support for the globalized online learning, not only because I was then the director of University Teaching Learning Center, but also because I thought that it was something that was inevitable, that all of us would have to, put ourselves in that shoe where we have to learn and relearn, and in order for us to know how to use other alternatives in teaching. And online is another alternative teaching other than our normal face-to-face. I was also showing how through my work, I was developing academic leaders. That was through the Inspirational Academic Program, as I mentioned just now. And of course, the normal dissemination of knowledge through publication. And in my case, my contribution was mostly training. I find it very odd. Shall I try again and see if you can? Would you be able to see me changing the slides now?
Yes, I can see you shifting through.
Brilliant. So I'm just going to do that. So that's a picture of me and the then Prime Minister and the then Minister of Higher Education, and the very tall person, the famous Professor Emeritus Joko. And these were pictures with the top management of the university, with friends, and you can see Dr. Wan there as well. And with scholars from other institutions. I know some of you would recognize some people in this picture. And my most important people in my life will be my family. Without their support, I will never be able to achieve what I achieve now. And by that night, this has gone viral for the next few days, and I was just, over the moon. And Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah. And as I mentioned just now, it was nothing. I don't think it was coming from me. It's more from him giving me this opportunity, opening up a new pathway in my career. But to begin with, it was a long and arduous journey. It began in 2014 when this journey towards AAN. But the work that I was talking about, or I was sharing, was actually work from 2001, and it was a good thing that I have problems getting rid of my students' work. I don't know. I maybe because I appreciate their work, that sometimes they leave. I leave them in the room, and sometimes, a long time ago, before I had my professorship, my friends would jokingly say, "This is a true room, a professor's room, because we hardly can walk in it." But I am so glad that I did not throw it away, because I didn't have problems to get evidence from what I did, reflecting back from 2001 until 2014. I didn't have any problems to get the evidence. So as I said just now, in order for us to do AAN, you have to start somewhere, and that somewhere is where usually people will like, okay, we'll do it next year. We'll do it next year. And in the end, you'll never do it. You have to do the teaching portfolio. And in the case of University Utara Malaysia, and I think in IUM, it's just the same. You have to have won an award in the university. So the award that will be related to this will be Distinguished Teacher Award. And we had to do a teaching portfolio. So every year I would get a letter from the University Teaching Learning Center to say that I'm eligible to submit. And I always put it aside until in 2014, because of the coaxing from the director then, who said to me, please, Fauziah, no one is actually submitting for the Distinguished Teaching Award. Can you please do this? And I was just so, I was supporting him as a colleague. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And the next thing I know, they appointed me as the deputy director of a center, which is called Center for Testing, Measurement and Appraisal. And I was overwhelmed with understanding what the center and what my role as the deputy director. And then, I thought, why did I say yes? But to cut the story short, Alhamdulillah, I managed to get the Distinguished Teacher Award for 2014, but in the year 2015. And that's where I was practically shoved into this AAN thingy. So the first thing that we need to do when of course, to listen to the taklimat, they will have a sharing session by the head of the panelists. And it's very good that whoever who wants to to embark on this AAN, you have to listen to to be present and listen, because you need to understand what's the requirement. So at that moment of time, these were the requirements, and I had to understand what those requirements are, look back at the portfolio that I have developed for my DTA, and to a certain extent, I had to tweak in order to fulfill the requirement of AAN. So this was the front page of the portfolio. And how I started the portfolio was I began with a snippet of how I became what I am. And I cannot forget that my fundamental values that I have learned as what I see myself and how I see the world today began from my early years. Even in my kindergarten, we were constantly reminded to say thank you and please, and so that has been part of the culture and the education, and I further received more ethical guidance from my alma mater, which is Bukit Bintang Girls' School, a school that is not existent anymore. Now, if you go to this particular location, you will find pavilion. Sad to say, I was one of those people who refused to, who didn't agree with but then again, who am I? But having said that, in this school, I learned to learn in a fun way. Maybe because I was naughty, but then again, I learned even science or mathematics or even English in a fun way. So when I became a teacher myself, that was what I had in mind, teaching my students who were struggling really hard in English language. English language to me, I never had to study for it. I just sit for the exam. But for the students, they didn't have any teachers from standard 1 to standard 6. So when I went to see them, when I went as a teacher, and they were in their form 1, English language is like, the level of English language that I had to teach was like a kindergarten English language. Some of them, and almost all of them, well, there are 5 classes, only 2 classes that students can read. The other 3 classes, they are illiterate. So how do I fast forward this process of learning the language? It's through drama, through choral speaking that I was exposed in my previous school, and songs and letters. And thank God there was one Japanese student who came for a, they call it, what do you call it? Student exchange program. So these students of mine who used to say, oh, we don't have to learn English language because, you know, the best that we could do is actually to work in the palm oil plantation. And I said, and when the Japanese student came and they started speaking English language to this student, and I said, why are you using English language then? Oh, because he can't understand Malay, and this Japanese chap was struggling to speak English, that my students were very confident. Suddenly they felt very confident to speak English language because they say, wow, his English is even worse and he's coming from a very developed country. So we're not that bad. So this, remember I told you my students have an average of E. When I say average of E, there was only one chap who got C, and the rest were D's, and the majorities were E's. But when they did their PMR, the highest was B. He wanted to have A, but he couldn't. He didn't manage to get it. So that was the process. And then I began talking about my philosophy, where I realized that I am there to mediate learning. I'm not there to teach them. I'm there to inspire them, to give them the motivation, to give them the sense of ownership, the sense of confidence that they can learn and contribute. And that's where I explain the philosophy. And I'm quite lucky because I come from the School of Education, and because of my background and my research, I use my framework in this particular philosophy. And the way I see myself, I do not teach students, I mediate learning. So mediation is actually challenging the students while supporting them. So it's not just challenging and let them be in the dark, but supporting them in various ways, not just from me, but it could be from the resources, the environment, the affection, and the metacognitive ways of doing things. So I will talk about how to mediate learning later on. So in the second part, where they ask you to talk about overall strategy and teaching supervision and evaluation, that's when I talk about the importance of seeing learning as an ibadah and making sure that our students also understand that. And I think IIUM will not have that problem because you will have all the hadiths in the Quran. I don't. I just have the, what I believe, and with that, I told I encourage my students to take ownership of their learning. And that's where we empower students to think, to solve problems. And these problems are real problems through case studies, through projects that they embark in. And that's when they reflect about what they have learned and continue learning from each other. But the most important thing is also to provide feedback. And the feedback has got to be informative. It cannot be just good. Well done. It has got to be good in what way? Well done in what way? And in what way that they need to improve? So it's more of the assessment for and off learning rather than just the off learning. So it's more of the formative assessment, not just the summative. And the tasks that I have given are also challenging tasks, which requires multiple source of information and probably multiple source of solution, multiple solution. So that encourages them to also learn from each other. And the learning environment that needs to be created is the learning environment that really not just in terms of the substance and in terms of the form, but also the substance, in terms of the value of learning, and not just to pass the exam or not just to get an A, but the value of learning to improve themselves and see how they can use that language in their later lives. So because I'm concentrating, I would say I'm an advocate of student-centered learning and active learning. Because of that, I focus much on the deep learning approach for my students to embark in. And
Sorry,
that's
Prof. Sorry to disturb again. Are we still on slide 7? The figure, the picture of your Anugerah Akademik in Negara. Are you still there or?
what is the problem with this thing here?
So sorry, Prof. I'm not sure. I think Zoom is actually against us today.
Yeah. Is it because of the weather? Okay. No, I'm not there. I'm already in a different. So I was talking on my own just now. Yeah. So
But I mean,
did
it
you
was
get
a
to
good.
see all this?
It was a good narration. I was.
Did you get to
Yeah,
see all
but I
this?
think we missed all this.
Oh dear. Well, that's the school where I come from.
Okay. That's
That
good.
was okay.
That
Yeah.
was the teaching portfolio that you mentioned about.
Yes, that's the teaching portfolio. That's the criteria that I had when it was that year. Yeah, but now they might have changed the teaching criteria. So it's very, very crucial that whoever wants to do for AAN, they need to enter this. I mean to attend the briefing. That's the front page of the portfolio. That's the preface of my background. I said from my schooling, and when I became a teacher. And that's my students who failed English language and now pass for their PMR. Yeah, that's me, if you can notice. Yeah, that's the teaching. We begin with the teaching philosophy. That's when I say I talk about the mediation process. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Yeah. And then the chapter 2 is about the overall strategy and teaching supervision and evaluation. That's where I talk about this concept before I start writing about it. And just to show you that in 2002, I did this first student seminar. We had this alley where people will be walking past by, and I had asked the JPP, the Department for Maintenance, to help us with the posters. And my students had a gala of time to convince people who pass by to listen to them talking about child and adolescent psychology. And they had a very interesting time because they were very nervous in the beginning, but after that, when they found that people were really interested, they began to have confidence. And in 2003, I extended that seminar by inviting key people, for example, Arwah Prof. Mahmud Nazar, whose work in who's related to the child and adolescent psychology, because he talks about the use of substance and how it affects development. And Prof. Rosna is actually an expert in motivation. And in 2015, this is where my students take charge. I taught undergraduate and postgraduate. So the postgraduate will do mini projects where they do the research in their respective school. The undergraduate will do the poster presentation. So when the postgraduate were presenting, the undergraduate were their participants. So they had a lot of questions because the undergraduate, well, I gave them case studies, and little do they know that those case studies were based on my own experiences or my students' experiences that I have included. And when they listened to the postgraduate students who were actually carrying out, study in the real setting, it dawned on them that the case studies that was given were not really hypothetical. To them, it looks as if it's hypothetical, but it could be, an issue that they will have to face in later years. So that's I know I'm very, because this is using my own camera, so this is one of my postgraduate students presenting. And apart from that, I also like to do mind maps in the classroom. And the kind of mind map that I started off with in one class with my undergraduate was a floor mind map. My children were then very young. and we always buy cereal, cereals, and the boxes, I don't throw it away. So I cut it and give it to all my students, and they have to write whatever that they can remember, because I noticed that they were not reading. And then after they have written whatever that they can remember, I'm making sure that it doesn't repeat. They don't repeat what others have said. Then I ask them to put it on the floor, and it's got to make sense. And they have to be prepared to explain why they put it there. And you notice some of them realize that they have to, hang on a minute, we need to study about this because we have not studied. And I allowed that to happen because that's the only time that I know that my students are actually reading. The same goes when, for my postgraduate students, more studies that, more instances that requires them to read, and through the task that they have given, that they were given, forces them, the task. That's why I said the environment. The task forces them to actually read. This is the example that I said. I also asked my students to do reflection, and I'm glad that I didn't throw away their journals. So I had 2002, 2003 educational psychology. I was teaching 150 for two groups, 150 students back then in the for the undergraduate. So they had written, their reflection, and I was able to show the evidence. And this kind of reflection has now changed over the years using Web 2.0 tools like Padlet and sometimes Mentimeter. And this is the example that, this is what I said. Most of my activities requires them to collaborate with each other. And this is what I mean by the floor mind map. So, these people were actually arguing, debating, and that's when learning, to me, is a good noise. Very noisy class, but the noise is a good noise. Before I started using Padlet, they had to come up with an A3. After the floor mind map, I then started using the normal A3 mind map, A3 paper mind map. And then when I started using Padlet, that's when I started asking my students to also use and share via Padlet. And that's when, and that's also been continued when I developed my my MOOC, which is called Human Lifespan Development, and my second MOOC, which is Understanding Learners. And when students are asked to do reflections, remember before this in the early 2000s, they were using exercise books. So now they are using forums and platforms in the either MOOC or LMS. All right. The third chapter is on creativity and innovation and how it has impacted teaching and learning. And this is where my notion of mediation is introduced. So as I mentioned just now, mediation refers to the intervention that the teachers provided, or the teacher as the mediator. And basically what it means is creating a supportive learning environment that challenges the learners, yet facilitate their learning. And itulah sayang tak ditunjuk because it's supposed to be interactive, but never mind. So there are 4 types of mediations: environmental, cognitive, affective, and metacognitive. So basically environmental mediation, it encompasses the establishment of an environment and context that challenges and promote learning. So the environment can be the task. The task can be a challenging task, or if we are talking about doing it for young learners, it can be pictures on the wall that to help them to understand what they need to understand. Cognitive is attending to and supporting the learning of a concept through challenging and promoting learners' thinking. And affective relates to the emotion, warmth, and effective involvement of the mediator when intending to enhance learners' motivation in classroom and raising self-esteem and promoting moral values. And in Malaysian context, this is something that is very, very rare. People always concentrate on cognitive. Little do they actually concentrate on affective. And it's this affective that gives the confidence and the motivation for people to learn. And this can be done through, lots of ways. humor, caring, giving them the feedback, the informative feedback that I said just now, not just to say good and all that, but to say good at what part, and to improve at what point. So that kind of effective mediation will actually help students to actually grow in that sense. Metacognitive mediation is promoting self and other regulation because remember I said I promote collaborative learning. So sometimes other students are actually helping that particular individual to regulate learning. Regulate here means they know what they need to do. They can plan, they can monitor, they can evaluate whether they have understood or not. So then I continued by explaining how these were done in my classes for each of the types of mediation. No, this is too small. I'm just showing it to you how I presented it in the portfolio. The fourth chapter is on teaching and supervision, evaluation and testimonial. This is where we show what happened in terms of students' achievement and their testimonial. So I showed them the results of my students and what they say. And some of the feedback that I got from my students are the way, whatever feedback that I have from my students is how I use it to improve for my next class, for my next semester. So these are all examples of the apart from the normal student evaluation information, some students also give you notes, and I'm sure all of you will have it. And these notes are my motivation. It's my how shall I say, juice to keep myself going. When they say that before this, they didn't see themselves, like if I can read this, beribu kesyukuran kami panjatkan kepada Ilahi kerana dipertemukan dengan insan seperti doktor, walaupun kadang kami berasa agak menyesal kerana agak lewat menyambung pengajian. So mereka dah, they feel very, they said, why didn't I continue my study earlier? Kerana inilah hikmahnya sepanjang mengikuti kelas doktor, banyak sungguh mutiara ilmu dan kesedaran yang kami dapat kutip bukan sahaja sebagai bekalan dalam profession kami, bahkan juga sebagai pemangkin perubahan dalam keluarga. It's because these are my postgraduate students who are actually teachers. So when they unpack those cases that I give them, issues that I raise, things that they have to observe and all that, it develops their own new perspective of what their role as a teacher in the classroom. So, and that's why they say, if only we had come earlier, we wouldn't have done all those sin that we have done for many, many years. And I always tell them, it is never, never too late. And this is another group of students, very, very critical group of students, because they are our own lecturers, young lecturers, who because those young lecturers coming into University Utara Malaysia, they will have to go through postgraduate diploma for higher education, learning and teaching. So it's a postgraduate diploma. Yes, they came in with all sorts of machine guns saying that, you're terrible, the program is terrible. But I had to teach them about understanding learners. And through that quest of them uncovering issues related to understanding learners, they not only understand themselves as learners, but they now begin to have empathy towards their learners too. And I didn't hear, then now they were giving me roses instead of the machine guns. Oh, no, it's not even moving. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, okay. So, and this is what I got from training. Some of the skills that not skills. One of the training that I did was about how to come up with a portfolio. And through the sessions, people tell me what they have learned. And the beauty part of it is it's not what they have learned about the portfolio, it's about how they learn about themselves. That to me is what learning is all about. It's not just about getting the skills that you're supposed to get during that session, but it's beyond. Yeah. And this is where I shared how not only I was doing it for my students and my colleagues, but I was also doing it for other people. And this time it's the community, sharing with them about effective mediation. And my community was the Bahagian Teknologi Pendidikan. And through the knowledge transfer program, they have included the guidelines that we have provided into their, what do you call it? Strategic plan. So, and because they did that, and they mentioned to because knowledge transfer program, they will have monitoring procedures, you see. And during the monitoring process, my community actually said that they felt they have learned a lot, and it's very helpful to them, and that's where they included into their ways of working. That resulted in us, in our group, to be one of the 6 research under KTP that was appointed as best project. So it was really nice. We didn't expect that, but yeah, Alhamdulillah. And also, because of that beautiful experience that we had, we also shared with our own community, which is the PPD, the education department in Kubang Pasu, and also from industry. This is with the AICB. ASEAN Institute Chartered of Bankers, because they wanted to know about how to develop questions and all that. So we also shared about effective mediation there. In the 5th chapter, it's about how do you do improvement and also professional development. And this is where I talked about the quality improvement. How do I plan for the innovation, innovation, and having got the results, what do I get from there? So this is basically the bit where I do the reflection in improving myself. So that's where I will explain all that. And the last chapter, I think this was the last chapter, scholarship in teaching, supervision and evaluation. This is how to show your scholarly work in terms of your research, in terms of your publication, and also in terms of your administration. So I also shared about the leadership in this section too, and research and publication. And innovation as well. This was one of this is PIP, Pencipta in 2015. I think we got silver. Yeah, we've got silver medal. Standing beside me is the then Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation, Professor Azizi, who became the Vice Chancellor for UMK. This is the CSR that we did, where I joined USM. Simply because in 2012 I went to this conference and met Prof Jafri, and we sort of decided to do a Northern Malaysian Brain Bee Challenge. And from 2014, it was just during the pandemic that we didn't do it. If not, this year would have been the 8th year UUM being involved in this. And I think in 2018, that's where they involved almost the whole entire Malaysia. Different universities were involved. During the time when I was the director of University Teaching Learning Center, that was also the time when we developed our first MOOC for the university. And for UTLC at that time, we also conducted or organized our first seminar. We've never had seminar before that. And from 2016 onwards, we had one, which is running until even to this year, which is called Inspirational Scholar Symposium. And that's the team, the UTLC team. Alamak, what did I do? Okay. Right. So in a nutshell, if you talk about mediating learning, as I said just now, I do not teach. I don't see myself teaching, telling. I see myself mediating. That means challenging my students and supporting them. And how do I do that? And in terms of environmental mediation, through designing the tasks and activities that requires them to be challenged. And in terms of cognitive mediation, to create opportunities for them to think, to discover, to make mistakes. Making mistakes is part of learning, and also to learn. And effective mediation is where they build the confidence and they have lots of fun when they are learning, reflecting learning, laughing at themselves, making mistakes and learn from that, and enjoying themselves, feeling comfortable getting feedback from students and not being offended, because we also teach them how to give the right way of, giving suggestions and becoming critical. Metacognitive mediation is when I encourage them to do reflection, because reflection is something, reflecting your work is something that not just because of AAN that you should do. All instructors should do reflective practices and reflective thinking in order to continuously improve yourself. So if you scan that, that will be one of the papers that I talked about this as well. And the bit.ly is about this particular paper. So what I do for my students is basically in the hope that it will create a ripple effect, which means the student-centered activities that I do with my students, I hope when they become students themselves, when they are undergraduate students, they are pre-service teachers. So they will become teachers one day, inshallah. So hopefully they will then use student-centered activities for their own students. And people always complain about students using mobile phones in the classroom. Well, use mobile phone for the good, which means I use mobile phone in order for them to do the activities. So they are not using mobile phone to look at their Facebook. They are actually using mobile phone to learn. And peer learning is something that they need to embrace, because when you work in your later lives, you will have to learn with your peers. So peer learning, where the battle of the mind begins, that's where I can see students taking charge of their learning. They have to convince their friends and their idea. And this is me this is me when doing mentorship, where I have to mentor new lecturers when they're teaching, encouraging them to use student-centered learning as well, and making them see the power of teamwork. This also is shown when I become the practicum supervisor for my students, for my undergraduate students, so that they then do it with their own, with their respective students in the schools. Of course, as a trainer, and this is a picture of me and my team with the then deputy director of ACAP. This is for the teaching and learning strand. This is for the leadership strand, which is entitled collegial management. Another leadership strand, which is entitled coaching and mentoring for excellence module. But though I'm also a trainer, but I always take the opportunities to become participant. I love to learn, and I never refuse to take the opportunity to also learn and become participant. Because sometimes you'll never know, you might be the trainer for the same thing that you're attending as a participant. You'll be surprised that you also learn a lot. So you're never perfect, and your knowledge is never static. Yeah, it's always evolving. And remember I said about the opening up the career pathway that Allah has given through the AAN award. The next day I was invited by UKM to become a keynote speaker, and that was my first ever experience becoming a keynote speaker. I did once, but that was for UUM, and that's pretty much because the actual keynote speaker couldn't make it, and they had me as a standby. So I couldn't count that as a keynote speaker because yang tu macam bidan bidan terjun. But this was really, really them inviting me as a keynote speaker, and I continue to do training. And 2017 was a brilliant, beautiful year for me because after this particular training that I did with the UMT group, I received a call from Tabung Haji to go for my Hajj, and I was over. That one is like beyond. No award can be of the same level, being called to go for my Hajj. And I am so glad to also introduce that one of the participant in this particular learning engagement group after the training is the ACRI winner in 2018. That's Dr. Farida. ACRI is also another, how shall I say, award for innovation. So I also encourage people to go there. And as a leader, I see myself I need to mediate the people in under my, supervision. And what I think all of us need to do is basically to plan for success. Meaning, when I say plan for success, you design a successful plan to improve your ways of working so that your students will continuously have meaningful and engaging learning experiences, regardless of what you teach. And always find and use those resources that you find available off and online, and use it wisely for your classroom and for your lessons. And never forget to, after you have planned well, execute them, then you need to check and monitor and evaluate how successful is your planning. You do not have to wait for any auditors to ask you to do this, any system to tell you to, you've got to do this as as a tick for the auditing processes. You need to do it for your own self, for your own self-improvement, in order for you to give your best for the students who are coming in every year. And at the end of the day, you need to reward your accomplishment. So you rejoice your improvement. When you see yourself improving, rejoice. And you do not need others to tell you that you have improved, because people will not know what you're doing in the classroom. Only you and Allah and your students will know what you're doing in your classroom. So you need to always pat your back when you do something good. Just want to share with you, this is a case of a non-optionist teacher. She's not an English teacher, but she was asked to become an English teacher. And I was observing her. She's actually my student. This is a teacher who believe that everyone deserves to learn. This is the neglected class. This is the last class. You can imagine any class that is in the last class, no teachers would want to go in. But this particular teacher is just so full of love and compassion. She believes that all her students can learn. And these are all illiterate, autistic, you name it, it's all in this particular classroom. So what she did was, when I introduced to her the notion of mediation, she changed her environment from that to that with her own money. And by changing the environment and changing her ways of working, rather than giving handouts, she's now doing lots and lots of interesting activities. I couldn't show everybody, but I can show you one picture of this particular student. No one asked her to sweep the floor, but she has already taken that ownership that this is my class, this beautiful class is mine, that I belong to this school. Before this, they don't want to come to school. These people are always ponting, they're playing truant. They don't like coming to school. But because she changed the environment and her ways of working, class is fun, full of activities that are fun, and they can see themselves learning every day. They like to come to school, and not only that, they take care of their classes, and they're only standard 1. Can you imagine what you can do with your students? So what do you need to do to become an inspiring educator? To me, looking at her, determination. Determination to have strong determination that you and your students have the capacity to learn and master knowledge, to nurture positive, creative, and critical mind, to have the growth mindset, as they call it, to nurture patience and perseverance, so that, and of course, aspiration that not only language is the means of communication to say that they can do it. Thinking is the essence of civilization, that without thinking, no one can be better. Aspire students to dream for better accomplishment in life, even if they are in the last class. As Oscar Wilde says, when something is worth doing, it is worth doing it right. And as Imam Al-Shafi'i says, semua manusia adalah mati kecuali orang yang mengetahui. Semua orang yang mempunyai pengetahuan sedang tidur kecuali orang yang beramal baik. Dan orang yang beramal baik tertipu kecuali mereka yang ikhlas. Dan orang yang ikhlas sentiasa berada dalam keadaan bimbang. Tapi ikhlas itulah yang akan menyebabkan kita grow. Ikhlas itulah yang akan menyebabkan pelajar kita sentiasa akan belajar. So to be a great teacher, not only you must love your subject, love your students, but be utterly determined that they shall learn. So as Allah has done good to us, do good to people, stay good, be good, do good, stay good. And you'll never know. One of these days, because of the good things that you have done, you're bound to have a sweet surprise. And that's basically what happened to me. I think that's about it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and your patience for my terrible, I don't know what happened to this PowerPoint, but yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Fauziah. Jazakallah khairan kathira. And on behalf of the organizing team, from the bottom of my heart, I would like to apologize for all that technical glitch. I think maybe the flow. Yeah, but I think just listening to you without the slides is still inspiring with all the experience and also the experience in your teaching and learning, actually how you approach your philosophy as well. That is actually inspiring. Yes, I would like to open the floor for any questions that you might want to share with Prof. Dr. Fauziah. And also as a reminder, while we're doing this Q&A session, there is an attendance link that has just been shared by the CPD to those who are around. Please do register your attendance to the session. Right. Is there any questions that I have actually one question, if I'm allowed to. I mean, this is like abuse of rule. I don't know. But,
it's okay.
But it's actually because when you mentioned about effective mediation, it's really inspiring. But at the same time, to make that kickstart to move into effective mediation, to how to, I mean, I think challenging students is not as difficult as having that effort to support them back. So what is do you have any advice on how to actually to kickstart that effective mediation where
yeah, thank you for the question, Dr. Firdaus. Very, very brilliant question, because that's what I observe from my research as well as from the observation right now. I mean, until now. It's not difficult, actually. But you just got to train yourself. To train yourself that, sometimes when we feel that we know so much and our students still don't know, when they make a mistake, we tend to say, salah tak faham, instead of saying, okay, you got that one. Why did you say that? You got it, that one. Fine, brilliant. You got it right, and that one. But can you explain about this? It takes us. We've got to start making ourselves familiarize with the notion of our students is learning. They don't come into our classroom already embedded with, already well informed. The whole reason you are here is because they still don't know. Because if they know, you're insignificant. So because they don't know, you need to be patient. And when they show you little by little progress, that they are trying to understand, that's when you give them the roses, where you say, that's terribly brilliant. Okay, you said this. I like the way you say this. Da, 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 da. What can you do to improve this? So you are telling them what they need to improve, and you're also telling them what they did right, rather than just say good or brilliant, full stop. So you are giving them the informative feedback, or I call it as emotive feedback. Emotive in the sense that you're saying that they're good, but you're also explaining which part that they are good at and which part that they need to improve. So that kind of feedback, it appears to be effective mediation, giving them the confidence that they can actually do it, but at the same time, also giving them the guidance what to do next, not just be in a trial and error in your classroom. Did I get it right? Maybe today I got it right. Tomorrow I'll be in his bad mood again, bad shoes. So you don't want that to happen to your students, because they've got only 14 weeks with you. I mean, regardless, depends. For me, for postgraduate, it will be 12 weeks. So they have very short period of time with you. So you need to be clear and help them to become clear, not to tell them, but to guide them, to support them. And it doesn't have to be just you, providing this effective mediation. You can teach them to give to each other. That's what I do with my students, because I need them to become, you'll never know that these leaders are going to be leaders in the future, right? Leaders who do not know how to say the right thing can be condescending. We don't want condescending way of telling people. We want people to grow. When we ask that, we critically tell them that they need to improve. We don't want to say in such a manner that they feel they're hopeless. We want to make them feel that they can grow. And effective mediation has that capability. It builds the confidence of the students. When you tell them that you did it, before this you couldn't do it, that's it. You show them that they have actually improved. That's part of effective mediation.
Thank you very much, Prof. So it means like even with peer learning, that is also part of the effective mediation. That's what you applied just now from the peer learning that you shared as well.
That's right. You can actually teach your students how to provide criticism towards each other, to give feedback, or because that's what I always do when they have to do a task, they have got to present. Other people will give them feedback. But how you give them the feedback, that's where I teach them about what's the right way to say without offending people. You want them to grow, right? You want them to improve, right? So how do you say it? So that's part of effective mediation.
Really, I think the challenge is like you have to reboot your mind setting as well, not only to reboot the students as well, because sometimes the word that we use, or even the words that I use, sometimes, whether I'm aware or not, it might be condescending to them, but
correct,
it's more judgmental rather than.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Prof.
No problem.
Is there any other questions from the audience? Or Sister Madam Nahana, is there any question from the YouTube audience?
So far, no questions.
Okay.
They're probably given up on me when they lost me at slide number 5.
I'm sorry. Then if I can, because the portfolio that you prepared, that one was actually prior to the pandemic, right? Prior to the one that you had today.
Correct.
And a lot of the images that those figures that you showed, those are all during most of them are involved and this physical interaction between the students and also with us as the lecturers as well.
Correct.
But what about what happened during this pandemic? Is there any shift or new experience that you want to share?
The thing that when Allah asks us to do something and macam tergerak nak buat apa-apa kan, you'll never know that sometimes benda tu will come back to us in a very good way. When I developed my first MOOC, that was because I was the director of University Teaching Learning Center. I started in 2015, but I only completed in 2017 because of my administrative work and all that. So it took me about 2 years to complete my first MOOC. And the reason why I embarked on that MOOC simply was because I wanted to encourage, academic faculty members to do MOOC. I need to know what problems that they're going to face in order for me as the mediator to tell the upper management what kind of support that we need to give to the instructors in order to motivate them to do MOOC. So that was my reason. That was just my niat to do that MOOC, okay? But after I completed that, having completed that amidst my administrative work and all that, I felt, this is pretty interesting because it was a platform that is very interactive compared to our LMS. Sorry, but yeah. So it was easy for me to do the to maneuver and change things in there, and I can do it in a very nice way and all that. So I thought, this is interesting. I want to do my second MOOC. And it so happened that I was given a course. Remember I told you about the postgraduate diploma for higher education, learning and teaching? These were for our own lecturers. So we couldn't use our LMS because by default, if I have 36 students in my class, 36 students, 36 lecturers, we will have 37 instructors in the LMS. They couldn't recognize the lecturers as students, okay? So that's why we had to have another platform that I can then assign them as assign myself as an instructor and them as students. So that's when I started doing my MOOC. When the pandemic happened in 2020, I was the dean. Now, as the dean in University Utara Malaysia, you're very lucky because you don't have to teach. But me, that's why I cannot become a dean for long, because my passion is teaching. And because I can't teach, and at that moment of time, when the pandemic happened, that particular course, 2 courses that I did MOOC, I asked my friends to use because they didn't have to wait for, people struggle to put things in the LMS and all that, because now we've got to change from the normal face-to-face to online. In the MOOC, you've already designed it in such a manner that the whole entire course is designed online. All they need to do is just to use the activities and go with the flow, modules after modules that's already been designed in the MOOC. So my friends were very, very happy that they had the MOOC to help them. And that's when from that idea, we started having little workshops in the school where we help each other to develop our teaching resources in our LMS so that students will not be left behind. And that was the time when everything was a bit chaotic, especially in 2020, where the first MCO, right? Everything was in a halt, and no one is to teach anything. Students were waiting, lecturers were waiting, and the more they wait, the more they became anxious because they really don't know what to do. And we were struggling to do training to make sure that the lecturers know how to use all these tools. And but in actual fact, if you have designed your tasks online and you're still asking them to use collaboration, it still can be done. And no one is in, it's not, you're not saying that if you're doing it online, you can't do activities like you can do in the face-to-face. The MOOC actually helped me to show people that if I had designed this for students to do collaborative learning via online, via MOOC, then to do it in LMS is not a big problem. All we need to do is just to start thinking what kind of tools that will be used in order for students to be able to collaborate. Google Doc is one way. If you're doing essay or whatever, Google Doc is one way that you can actually get people to collaborate. You can actually see who is actually doing what, right? So Yes, the pandemic, you will probably struggle in the beginning during the pandemic. But if you had been tuned into the understanding that students need to be the one who's actually doing the learning, you would have designed, regardless whether you're seeing them face to face or online, a collaborative student active learning task. So you can still collect the data, and the best part of it, when you're using all this LMS or even MOOC platform or whatever learning platforms that you use, you can actually do the learning analytics that in the face-to-face you are not able to do that. But in the LMS, you can actually look at who is actually doing what. So you can actually tell stories about how you gather the data and how you use those data to to encourage your students to be involved in the activities. So, in a nutshell.
Oh, lovely, lovely, Prof. It looks like, I mean, even before the pandemic, you were actually prepared for this.
I didn't. That's why I say you never say that you're doing it for something. You just do it, and somehow or rather, it just falls nicely. You know.
Nice to please, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Prof. Again, is there any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, somebody, Dr. Shah Faris, when I didn't show him the picture, he was, when I said it used to be a school and now it's pavilion, he was able to tell that it's actually BBGS, correct?
Yes, Prof.
Yes, that's my
I
school.
was from St. John. That's why I know the BBGS.
Okay, that
BBGS, St. John,
explains.
St. Mary, semuanya sama. St. Gabriel.
Itulah, but St. John St. Mary still ada kukuh di atas bukit.
St. Mary pun dah tukar lah tempat lain.
Oh ya ke?
Ha.
Okay.
Semua dah
BBGS tu,
bertukar jadi
sometimes when we wait for the BBGS student tu, kita pergi karya Neka sepanjang jalan.
No, share. Tengok, wait. Dengar tak dia kata apa? Wait for the BBGS students.
Pakcik bas wait lah. Pakcik bas tunggu budak keluar sekolah.
Ya, betul.
Ha.
Thank you.
Okay.
Alright. If there are any time is nearly up for the first session. But we're still waiting for Prof. Madya, Dr. Wan Zohainis Saad. Madam Hana, is Associate Prof. Dr. Wan around? She's still in her meeting because we got information that she has a meeting this morning, and it is expected to finish at around 11:45.
Oh.
So it might take a while. So maybe if there's any last burning question, maybe last advice from Prof. Fauziah. For those, I think those who attended this morning, actually they are eager to learn on how actually. I know you've shared some of your portfolios that you prepared for the submission, right? And it sounds to me, what I can conclude here is the preparation of that portfolio does not come from the day that you want to write the portfolio, but rather it comes from the first day your philosophy of mediating learning comes in, which is like back in 2002 or even before that, right, when you were teaching schools. Then only then it came into a collection of information that will be prepared into, that you prepared into your portfolio. So you have any advice to us, the young ones who maybe we want to I don't think, if I'm comparing my experience now, I don't think I'm prepared for that application yet, but maybe it's a good inspiration for me to start thinking of how to tune my teaching and also my learning experience towards an inspirational teaching accolade like yourself. So do you have any advice for us?
I think the most important thing is to love what you're doing. When you love what you're doing, somehow or other you will constantly think about it. You know, when you constantly think about it, you will reflect, you will see what you do, and you will know why you do certain things the way you do it. Kan? Bukan saja-saja buat, dia macam mana ya? The reason that you do it is because that's you, you know, that's your way of seeing things. So that becomes your philosophy because that's your beliefs, right? And those beliefs does not come falling from the sky. It's usually because of certain experiences that has happened in your life that has influenced you the way in which you are like that. So this is where you look back at how, you know, what's the makeup of you and how you see yourself, your role, and how you see teaching and learning. That's how you can put the whole thing together. If I can share my experience writing the first portfolio, remember I told you every year I will get it and I will just put it aside. Now next year. I'll keep saying next year until 2014. As I mentioned just now, the director, who's actually my colleague, said that please, Fauziah, nobody is submitting in this DTA, and please, I need you know, somebody to actually send, because everybody don't like the idea of writing a portfolio. And I didn't know what I was going into. I was just, in my mind, masa tu macam kesiannya kat dia kan. Tak apalah, okay lah. You know, I was just kesian. But once you say you want to do it, then you have to start looking at, okay, what is this? Apa sebenarnya? You know, what do they want in a portfolio? So you look at the requirements that they have. And it's through that requirements, then you start reflecting, do I have that? Do I do all those things? And then you start thinking back. The process of thinking back and searching in my very, 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 very informative room, full of information room, that took a long period of time. Because I was like, how shall I put this? You know, how shall I arrange this number of years that I have done, the amount of work that I have done, the different kinds of strategies that I have done, the different kinds of effect that the students have got it. How do I put all this in, you know, in a document? That requires a lot of time. The writing bit, I think it was pretty much 3 days. The final day was a day that I stayed in UUM until 3 o'clock. Maybe not 3 lah, 2 o'clock in the morning. And everybody was like, what? You stay in SETMA, that's the Center of Testing and Measurement and Appraisal. Apparently that center is berhantu, but I was not even bothered with any hantu at that moment because I just wanted to complete the portfolio. So the writing bit was not difficult. It's the thinking bit that is the thinking bit and the searching for the evidence bit. So I was like, and it was nice. I treasure that a few good days of looking through my treasure, because that's when I'm able to look at, oh, in 2001 pun I dah buat macam ni. Oh, in 2002 students kata macam ni. That was in 2014, you know, like a few years back. I dah lupa dah what I did in 2002 and 2001. But because of this idea that I have to do this portfolio and all that, I was forced to look back at what I do in that sense, you know, and find evidence this time. It's not just, I know what I did, but now it's just to find evidence to see, you know, was I able to do this? You know, what was the effect on my students? So thank God, you know, Alhamdulillah, I asked my students to do reflection, because it's through the reflection, they tell me how those activities that they do in the classroom affect them as a student, and how they're going to use that knowledge when they become teachers. The 150 students times 2, the one that I told you about, in 2002, those students, half of them were not even our education students. They were doing it for elective. But all of them in the classroom said that, I wish I could be in the education program. And that was like wow, macam bagusnya. And some of them actually became teachers. Of course, they had to take diploma pendidikan lah to become teachers. But some of them were inspired to become teachers, although they were doing management. They were not doing education program. So yeah, and keep doing good. Why did I focus and stress on that? Because doing good is not easy. If you want your students to become if you want to see your students actually growing and improving and all that, especially in terms of values, in terms of their thinking, not just the content, but as a human, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of your time to plan the kind of activities that will unpack all those things. It's a lot easier to just teach, as in lecture. But planning an activity that requires the students to get themselves involved in those issues, relating the theories into practice, and sometimes asking you questions beyond the curriculum. So you got to be on your toes as well. It's not easy, but it's beautiful when you are able to see your students actually, when they started with you, they were katalah macam had some issues with their attitude, but as they leave, their attitude change. I don't care about the A and the B and the C's and the D's anymore. To me, that students have already, that's a successful student. The A's and the B's and the C's is insignificant, because what at the end of the day is that person, how they think and what their attitude that they bring in, that's going to be the thing that's moving them forward. Their CGPA is, well, if they can tally the two together, that's terribly brilliant. But if they can't, what's more important is their attitude and what they bring in out, after your classroom to the real world. That is more important. So teaching them the right values and making them see their existence and that they are able to learn will give you the beautiful stories. It's not by design. Those stories are not by design. Those stories will come to you when you really need it. Like just recently, I just completed my term as the Director, University Teaching Learning Center. So I had to go back to my very cluttered room, and now to remove all those clutter so that I can, have a nice clean room. So I was doing that for the past 1 week, I think, now, in between doing training, but yeah. And when I went outside one evening, I was wearing baju sukan, basically a sports attire, because I wanted to be flexible in pulling the boxes out of my room. So there are now 3 big boxes outside my room to be thrown. The amount of treasure that I have. I met these 2 students who said, I just said hi to them, and they just said hi, but it was like, hi, that kind of hi. And they said, we miss you. And I was like, what? Because I wasn't around for 1 year. I was already the Director of University Teaching Learning Center. These are students, the undergraduate students, whom I met when I became the Dean. They were in their first semester. And after that, all of them had to go back to their respective places. They're now back as semester 5, only coming back to the campus in their 5th semester. So they said, we miss you. I said, I'm not even teaching you. I said, yeah, no. We miss you for a lot of things that we cannot even tell. And I said, in what way did I make an impact on you? And he says, lots of things to help us through our academic structure. You inspire us with things. So that's what I'm saying, those 2 boys who said to me they miss me for all things that they cannot explain. I was tired on that day after taking out those 3 big boxes outside my room. But when I went back and I told my family and my husband and my family, and I said, those 2 boys make my day. I feel so happy because I must have done something great, which I don't even know what, that they actually appreciated. Sampai dia berkata, I was wearing really haggard punya baju and they berkata, can we take pictures with you? I said, what? Not like this. I said, no, please. So we took pictures. They took pictures. I don't know where they go and viral that picture, but thank God we are using our mask. So tak apalah, tak adalah rasa sangat kan. But yeah, so those are the things. When one or two students tell you that you have done something good, that's the juice to keep you going. It doesn't have to be the whole 150. It doesn't have to be the whole entire 2,000 students. Two, to tell you that you have done something good, alhamdulillah. So just keep doing it. And that made my day. So I'm sure in the process of you finding out your philosophy, the way in which you see yourself and what you want to do, what you want to achieve with your students, it has to come with the passion. It has to come with your beliefs that they are important, that you want them to grow, and somehow or other, whatever that you do, it will turn out well, and it will come back to you in many ways least expected.
Brilliant, very much, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. I think when you said it, I don't think the document that you submitted is the portfolio. I think the way that you shared your experience, these students that you've inspired, these people that you have shared your experience with throughout the years, they are the walking portfolios. I think they are the one that's speaking volumes about what you've done. That is what I understand here. I think those are the people that are actually a testimony of what you've done and of your philosophy, I think. Alhamdulillah, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. And I think one last message that I can learn from you is actually clutter is good, yeah, Prof?
Oh no, don't follow bad things from me. But in this sense,
No.
yes.
Yes.
Because you can still find your evidence. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, Prof. So I think that concludes our session this morning. Thank you very much once again, and also again, I would like to apologize for all the technical glitches or any weakness from our side, Prof.
I would like to apologize on my side too. I'm so sorry for being carried away speaking about all things, only to know that you're still in slide 3. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay, Prof. I think it just means that you have to come back, Prof. That's all. All right, thank you very much to everyone. I think we will convene back here at 11:45, right? Madam Malhana, can I confirm the time for that one? Or is it 12 o'clock?
11:45 should be okay.
Yeah, okay. So I think we'll come back here to this platform at 11:45 for the second session with Dr. Wan Zohainis. But other than that, we'll conclude our session today. Thank you to everyone. Thank you once again, Prof. Dr. Fauziah, for the session. And I hope
wish you all
everyone
the best.
Yes,
I
thank
wish
you.
everyone all the best.
Inshallah. Ameen Rabbal Alameen. And I hope everyone is also inspired as much as I have been this morning. So I'll see you guys once again. With that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye, everybody. Stay
Thank you,
safe.
Bye.